Radhika. Hi guys, good evening. I'm just gonna wait for more people to join in before we can start. I hope all of you are well and staying safe and getting yourselves vaccinated if you get the slot, and if you're eligible for it, please go ahead and do that. And yeah, we have our guest. So today's session is going to be about Ayurveda, and I think our guest is just joining in. Hi, good evening, Dr. Aparna.
Hi.
How are you?
Yeah. Good, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Guys, today we have an Ayurvedic expert with us. This is Dr. Aparna. She is an Ayurvedic doctor, and she's one of the few who happens to hold a PhD in this ancient science. So you know that the information that you're going to be getting from her is going to be absolutely authentic and traditional and rooted in Ayurveda. So, Dr. Aparna, we're super excited to be doing this with you. So thank you for doing this live session with us.
Yes.
All right. So I have a bunch of questions with me. I will start asking. And audience guys, if you have any questions, please put them in the comment section or the question section below. And Dr. Aparna will be happy to answer them. So the topic for today's discussion is the science of balance, Ayurveda. So before all of that, Dr. Aparna, can you tell us a bit about yourself? How did you get into Ayurveda and sort of got inclined towards this ancient science and medicine?
So, I'm born into a family of Ayurveda doctors. My father is an Ayurveda doctor. He is an MD. And my grandfather and grandmother, they all practiced Ayurveda, in their household. And they had a pharmacy which they ran. So, from generations, we are inclined into the science, and we see healing, with Ayurveda with our own eyes. So it was quite easy for me to get into this science. And my father was an inspiration for me, is an inspiration for me. And, from I have never never remember having an antibiotic or a paracetamol or anything for any of my illness till date. And always we were healed with, Ayurveda medicines, and all my family, cousins, everyone. So, this was very natural for me. It was very natural for me to be initiated to the science. So I thought, if I can help people with the science, there is nothing like that. So that's how I got into Ayurveda, and I'm very happy and glad that I did it.
I mean, it's wonderful to hear that, your entire family and generations of them have been involved in this science. So that's really nice. So can you tell us a bit about the philosophy of Ayurvedic medicine? What exactly is Ayurveda?
So, Ayurveda is a journey into harmony. It is all about respecting our natural, body and the self, and also listening to it, right? So, in Ayurveda, we say that life is a harmony between mind, body, intellect, and senses. So, when all these factors are in harmony, when they are in balance, we call someone healthy, right? So, we have this notion of health as size zero figure, or 6 feet, six pack abs and all those, right? And I have patients coming to me telling that, I want to lose weight and want to look good. So Ayurveda, the concept of Ayurveda is that if your mind is having a clarity, clarity or peace or happiness of mind, if you have a healthy body with no symptoms, and if you have a feverishness free senses, what I mean is, like, if you get up in the morning, and then if you don't get your morning coffee and you land up having a headache, that means your senses are so addicted to the cup of coffee that your happiness actually lie on that cup of coffee. That means you are addicted to that, right? So your happiness depends upon that cup of coffee. If you don't get that cup of coffee, you are miserable. So if your senses are free from that kind of feverishness, okay, I'm happy with coffee, I'm not happy, it's okay if I don't get a cup of coffee. If that is how your senses are with objects, like, okay, I have to see this Netflix series, I have to see and finish this. So that feverishness, if you are not having to any of the objects of senses, then you are healthy. And clarity of intellect. Many times we don't know what to do. We don't have clarity. Should I do this or that? Or, that clarity is also very important. So Ayurveda calls someone healthy if they have happy state of mind, a healthy body, feverishness free senses, and a clear intellect. So all these are factors which decide what health is. So it is a harmony which you develop with yourself, or you appreciate with yourself, right? And also in Ayurveda, the definition is like this, samadosha samagnishta samadhatu malakriya. That means balance of body, happiness of mind, clarity of intellect, feverishness free senses, and a pleasant soul. So all this make the essence of health according to Ayurveda.
Definitely. I mean, especially when you were explaining the cup of coffee, well, example, I'm like, oh my God, that is me. Like literally, every morning I feel like I'm incomplete if I've not had that cup of coffee. So great for enlightening that, because I didn't know that Ayurveda even considers something like that, like, controlling your senses, and if they are in harmony also. I mean, that's a concept that I've never heard of. And I think someone's
rather than okay, it's not a sin to have a cup of coffee, but acknowledging that you have this attachment to coffee, and you have to train your mind in some way that, okay, if you don't get your cup of coffee, if you are waking up in other side of the world without where there is no coffee, then also you should be, your mind should be, senses should be not feverish about that. That is the main concept of Ayurveda. So feverishness free senses, also the indriya, in Sanskrit we call it as indriya. So the indriyas should be, the senses should be feverishness free.
All right. So Dr. Aparna, can you tell me a little bit on the concept of Prakriti and doshas? Because I've heard these concepts. What do they mean?
Okay, so Ayurveda is called as a personalized medicine, and a very specific person-centric medicine. Why? Because we are all different and very special because of what we are made up of. We all know that we are all made up of DNA, we have genes, right? So similar way, in Ayurveda, the concept is that we are all made up of 5 elements. 5 elements are, air, space, earth, water, and fire. So these are the 5 elements, and this condensed to form 3 bioenergies in the system. Bioenergies are, these bioenergies are responsible for normal functioning of the body, right? Air and space forms the Vata bioenergy, fire and water forms the Pitta bioenergy, and water and earth forms the Kapha bioenergy. So this should be understood as something, it's a metaphor. It is not that I cannot see air in my body, right? I don't have a fire in my body, but they are all energies which is getting represented by these 5 elements. Okay, so I have this Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, which are the condensed form or the energy form of these 5 bioenergies. So this 5 bioenergies or 3 bioenergies are present in all of us in different permutation and combination, right? So for example, Vata is a kinetic kind of energy in the body. All the nervous function, everything is depending upon Vata. Pitta is a biochemical transformation energy which is in the body, and Kapha is a potential or biocohesive force in the body. So and these 3 bioenergies have 2 different kinds of expressions, right? One expression is a genetic expression, or we are made up of any of these bioenergy, or or I can be either Vata, Pitta, or a combination of it. Let us see how genetically I can be an air and space dominant person. So let us think about an air and space. So air, in the sense, air is very fast moving, right? So typically an air person has a lot of momentum. They will be very energetic, enthusiastic, all over the place. They are little anxious, little nervous, not able to decide between things. So they are like, they have a lot of air and space energy with them, right? We might have seen people, okay, should I do this or should I do that? They will be in a confused state of mind, and little anxious, all over the place kind of people are having more of air dominance. Again, these are just the mental attributes. There are a lot of physical attributes also attached to this air and space elements. Next, coming to the fire energy. Fire energy is the pitta energy. So here, so we have to understand about fire. So fire is something which is, you know, very very to the point or very specific. So this fire people will be, you know, very opinionated, competitive, ambitious, on time kind of, very problem solvers kind of people, right? So this pitta bioenergy, if you have a dominance of pitta bioenergy, then you have all these qualities, right? But when there is an imbalance of pitta, when the pitta is too high, you can be like a fire spitting dragon, you know, going on and, you know, throwing fireballs, right? And now coming to the kapha bioenergy. Kapha is like a water and earth bioenergy. And here it is very stable. When you think about water and earth, it's very stable, very laid back, easygoing, very reliable, patient, lethargic, lazy, you know, little chubby teddy bear kind of, you know, people. So, so these are all the genetic makeup, and there are a lot of attributes. So when you sit and talk with an Ayurveda doctor, you will be coming to, you will come to know what is your body type, right? Now, this is the genetic expression. So I can be either Vata, Pitta, Kapha, or a combination of this, right? That is my genetic makeup. Now we also have something called as functional bioenergy. Functional bioenergy is like Vata, Pitta, and Kapha should be, this energy should be in a, say, you know, in some proportion to call ours for normal functioning of the body. Like air and space should be in this amount, so that I have all my nervous system intact, all my you know, actions in place, right? So when it's just too much, when an air and space is too much at the level of head, you are so anxious, all over the place, again not able to decide on things. When you have too much of air and space at the digestion level, lot of bloating, gassiness. Yeah, when it is in the level of joints, lot of cracking joints, movement disorders, you know. So all this can happen when Vata is out of balance. Vata is the kinetic energy, you know. So kinetic energy out of balance, all these symptoms can come. Functionally, when Pitta is out of balance, Pitta is the fire. Not too much of fire, right? So a lot of skin issues, lot of hot flushes, you know, lot of you know, acid reflexes, all heat things, you know, all heating things you can imagine. That is because of Pitta imbalance, inflammations in different joints, all that is all because of Pitta imbalance. And coming to the Kapha, it is again, it is very stable, earth and water, a lot of water retention, putting on weight. If you take a drink a glass of water, still I feel I have put on like 2 kilos, right? So this is the feeling a Kapha person, a Kapha imbalanced person can have. So this is the functional imbalance. So we have to understand what our body type is, and also we have to understand what am I imbalanced. So we have to work in balancing the functional imbalance, and also respect what is my body type of Prakriti. Right? If I have lot of Vata in my body, that means I have a tendency to be anxious. So when I know this, that I have a mind which is very fast, always moving around, always in a very confused state, I have to resort to a more disciplined lifestyle so that my Vata is not out of balance. It is like, you know, you have this fan in our room and it has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? But when it is regulated into 3, the speed is 3, then you have a breeze, right? You get breeze. But when it is in 5, you can see that the papers in the room is everywhere, the dust is everywhere, you know. So this is like that. Vata out of balance is like a fan put on 5, mode 5, and everything is everywhere in place. So regulate, discipline the Vata. So waking up on time, you know, doing some exercise, doing some meditation to balance your Vata can help. right? So this is how you balance the excess of air and space element, right? Now, suppose you have a lot of heat in the system, you know, lot of rashes, inflammation on the system. That means you have to understand, oh my God, I have lot of heat in my system. So I have to resort to things which are opposite to these qualities, right? So I have to look for diet. So I should be staying away from garlic, because garlic, whenever I eat, I have lot of heat in my system. Ginger is heating spice. Cinnamon is heating spice. Again, if I take, you know, a Chinese hot and sour soup, and I already have a lot of heat in the body, I will end up having problem. So the wisest thing is to do that. Okay, acknowledge that I have this excess heat in the body. So when I go to a restaurant, let me order a sweet corn soup, which is not against by imbalance. So this is how you put practically Ayurveda into use, right? If I understand that I have a lot of mucus in my system, you know, I have a lot of mucus, I have a lot of kapha in my system. And then if I take yogurt or curd, a lot of ice creams or milk, then I get congested and mucousy and stuffy, right? So let me understand that, oh, today I'm getting little mucousy and stuffy. So let me take things which are little heating in nature. Let me take a ginger tea, or let me take a tulsi and, you know, muleti tea, so that my throat is good, right? So this is how we understand and acknowledge the status of our body, and then resort to diet and lifestyle. So Ayurveda is a very practical system for that matter. When we start observing what is happening in our body, it is very easy to understand. This is such a wonderful science. So anybody can start listening to the body, and then according to the body's needs, we can act, right? Then there is less chance of us getting sick, right? But if you know that I have acidity, I have lot of heat in my system, but I love my achar, pickles, I love my pickle, I cannot stay away from my pickle, I keep on eating lot of pickles and I get heartburn every time, then you will end up having an ulcer, acid peptic disease or ulcer after 6 months. Then you will be like, oh my God, I don't know how I got this ulcer. But your body was giving you enough signals. It was giving you signals that, okay, this is not good for you, right? Every time you take a ginger adrak wala chai or a ginger chai, you get heartburn. That means that is not for you, right? So we keep ignoring the symptoms, and then we fall sick, and then we wonder, how am I sick, right? So this happens with us a lot. And this is how Ayurveda helps, by listening to our body to see which element is out of balance, and acknowledging that I have this imbalance, and let me fix it by diet and lifestyle. Or if you want some herbs, then you have to talk to an Ayurveda doctor.
That's awesome. I mean, Chinkies, yeah, they're saying nice information. I agree. And especially since you put it out with such easy examples that happen in everyday life, all of us, I think, could understand the concepts of Ayurveda and how it works. So from all of this, I'm getting the basic premise that there is a certain balance in our systems that we are born with. And now these, like you said, can be, affected because of various factors like lifestyle, karma, etc. And you're also saying that this balance is individual to each person. So I've also come across this term in Western medicine, which is called as homeostasis. So is the balance in Ayurveda similar to that term, homeostasis, or is our book difficult?
Yes. See, so I can make it a little more clear. See, genetic type, genetically I can be a Vata, Pitta or a Kapha person, or I can be a fire person. To make it easy to understand, I can be an air and space person or a fire person. See, for example, I imagine that I'm a fire person, right? So this is my genetic makeup. My DNA is fire dominant. I cannot change it. I'm born with it and I will die with it, right? But there is also this Vata, Pitta and Kapha energy in functional form. It is like blood sugar values, right? We have sugar in our DNA, in our cell, but we also have sugar in our blood, right? When the sugar goes up, we have diabetes. When the sugar goes down, we are hypoglycemic. Same way, Vata, Pitta and Kapha as energy, they are present for the normal functioning. So this Vata, Pitta and Kapha functionally, when they go up and they go down, then we have a problem, we have a disease. But when they are in balance, in normal range, we are healthy, right? But they are not related to my prakriti or my genetic body type, right? I can be a fire person, and then I also have this functional vata, pitta, and kapha, which is like 33% of functional vata, 33% 3% of functional pitta, and 33.33 of functional vata, which is maintaining, which is overlooking my normal function. So this functional imbalance when happens, we get diseased. So, but genetic imbalance is something which I have to take care. I am a born pitta with a fire imbalance. So I have to make sure that I am not indulging in too much of fire things, fiery things. Like, you know, when you walk into a room and you have 10 people sitting, some will be like, oh my God, it is too hot here. Some people will, it is so chilly. Can you switch off the AC? Some people are like, oh, the weather is so nice, right? We have different opinions. That is because if you have too much of air and space in your body, you get chilly with a little bit of wind or AC, right? But if you have too much of fire in you, you are really hot and you need the AC to be in very low temperature, right? That is your genetic makeup, right? But when if you are a woman and you are nearing menopause and all these years you were comfortable with heat, and then you suddenly develop hot flashes, and then you feel, oh my God, I always want good AC, that means your pitta is out of balance. Understood? Your functional pitta is out of balance.
There's a difference.
You're getting it?
Yeah.
Right? So I can be a pitta vata person with a pitta imbalance. When I'm nearing my menopause, I have pitta imbalance. That is why I feel hot all the time. That means I have a pitta imbalance.
That's
You're getting it? So there is a difference between prakriti and vikriti. That is genetic makeup and functional makeup. Right? Functional balance. So homeostasis is like something like a functional balance.
Okay. So also can like two of these dosha, can more than one dosha be out of balance in a person? Like,
yes,
it can.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, the functional, all three can be imbalanced in very grave disease. One can be imbalanced, two can be imbalanced, all the three, it's all possible.
All right. So how can one figure out their doshas, like at least the genetic dosha that they're born with? Are there ways to do that?
So this you have to sit with an Ayurveda doctor to find out. You know, there are a lot of questions. Like, for example, I can say that if you are an air and space element person, that means you air and space people have thin frame, right? Medium thin frame, and they have lot of ideas in their head, but they are not able to consistently follow it, right? Air, and because lot of air and space, they will be all over the place. Oh, this is good idea, that is good idea, you know, lot of ideas, very imaginative, very creative, very on the go. You know, like, okay, you let's go to trekking, and then let's go to a restaurant tomorrow and have food, and then they will plan, and by the time they have to really go, they'll be like, okay, let's postpone. You know, the energy is like this, right? So they will be like finding the soulmate yearly thrice, you know, or their dream job, they land up in dream job every year, right? So this is how vata is all over the place, right? And then they have a dry, you know, air and space. When you expose to air and space, there is a lot of dryness, like, you know, hawa laga, so, you know, you feel dry. So a little bit of dryness in the system will be there. So this is all vata body type. But then we also can have vata kind of hair and pitta kind of appetite, and you know, you can have a skin of kapha and hair of vata. So it's all, that's why it's very important to sit with an Ayurveda doctor and not just to resort on online questionnaire to find out what your prakriti is. Because see, if somebody asks you how is your sleep, you know, if the computer is asking you how is your sleep, and you have three options: broken sleep, second one is regular hours of sleep, and good sleep. So these are the three options computer gives. So one is A is for vata, B is for pitta, and C is for pitta. kapha. And then you have answered good sleep or broken sleep, right? That is because abhi kuch problem hua hai, and for some years, for 1 year you are stressed and you answered it as broken sleep. But when you see the whole life, you are sleeping well, but you answered it as broken sleep. Then the computer don't know whether it is broken sleep now or broken sleep which was since years. So to analyze your genetic prakriti, you have to understand that it is not just the now which is important, it is all your life, how it was. So the broken sleep now and all your years you are sleeping good, that means your prakriti, the sleep prakriti is kapha or pitta, but now you have an imbalance in your vata. Understood? So that is why you have to sit with a doctor, and then they will be able to help you in finding out.
Yeah, I mean, because even I've taken those tests and I could never figure out which one to answer, because currently I'm feeling a certain way, but it might not have been like that for a long time. I mean, yeah. So again, following with that question, how can one balance their doshas? At least, of course, if the problems are more serious, it is better to go to a doctor and get it done. But like simple things in their everyday life, if they're seeing certain things happening to them, and so how can they sort of balance out their doshas?
So in Ayurveda, there are the tripod of health is there, sleep, diet, and a good lifestyle. Maintaining these three factors are enough to have a somewhat a healthy life, right? So the first one is having good timing for diet. So be predictable. Our nervous system like predictability, right? Today, if you are waking up at 10 o'clock in the morning and tomorrow you are waking up at 6 o'clock, your nervous system will be under stress. Like, oh my God, what is happening? So nervous system will be under stress. So the best thing is to be very predictable, have regular sleep and wake cycles. So this is the first thing. Second thing is listening to your body, right? If you have some kind of congestion, or if you feel lethargic, or if you feel heavy, then you have to acknowledge that my digestion is a little bit heavy, and then you have to resort to some light kind of food, right? So let me understand, okay, let me eat light kind of food, and then that is how respect our digestion, and then we are able to maintain it, right? So this is the first one. And the second one is sleep, regular hours of sleep wake cycle. 6 o'clock, up by 6, or bed by 10:30. So maintain this regularity in your cycle. See, Ayurveda has told like Brahma Muhurta, you have to get up and all, but I don't know how practically people will be able to follow. So I'm just putting forward all the practical things millennials now can follow, right? I don't want to give you a lot of lecture about all the concepts of Ayurveda, but just takeaways which you can practically apply. So the first thing is, eating habits. Respect your intuition, respect your body's signals, and then resort to healthy eating habits. And respect your digestion. If you are feeling low in digestion, give a rest, or take something like dal or khichdi or rice, and which is very light and easy in digestion. And then if you went to a party and you had too much, then make sure that next day you are taking something very easy to digest, like a rasam or rice or dal or something which is very easy to digest, or a porridge. And that is how you balance, right? Balance your system. And then sleep, regular sleep wake cycles again. And then a lifestyle. Lifestyle is like respecting our natural urges. It is very important that you are pooping every day, to make sure that you are not constipated, you are having regular bowel movements, so that you are actually disposing your waste on a daily basis. That's also very important. So all these factors, if you are taking care of, more or less, I think you will be able to help your body to be under a relaxed response state. Otherwise, if you are giving lot of changes and lot of bombarding your senses with a lot of things, bombarding your body with lot of things, new things every day, lot of changes, then your body will be under stress. So this stress response, it will trigger a lot of harmful chemicals in the brain, and this can result in giving wrong signals, and this can land you up in certain diseases. That is why lot of diseases are labeled as lifestyle disorders, from PCOD, from fibroid uterus, endometriosis, diabetes, hypertension. All these are called as lifestyle disorders, because we are not respecting our lifestyle, right? So if we can take care of these three things, more or less, we will be able to nail it.
I'm glad you pointed that out, because it feels like a wake-up call for me also to set a sort of routine, that is more structured. Because I think ever since staying at home, all of us have even lost a sense of routine. Like, okay, go to work this time, come back, eat at this time. So I think it's great that you pointed that out. Now, the next thing I'm going to ask you is, can you tell us some Ayurvedic suggestions or treatments for certain common problems that many women face? The first thing I'm going to ask is about PCOS. I know that it's quite common and a lot of women have it. So what would you suggest to them?
See, when you look at all this, new age diseases like PCOD or endometriosis, when you look at the nature of the disease, it is PCOD is something like a cyst, right? Cyst is a growth, right? So this growth, so there is this growth, and then that means a lot of heaviness in the body, lack of exercise, lot of heaviness. There is something growing in your ovaries, right? It is slimy. It is lot of greasy, cheesy, heavy, oily food is the first culprit, which is precipitating PCOD. And then irregular sleep-wake cycles. We all sleep at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, and then you wake up very late. Again, this is causing a problem with your biological clock, and this clock is not knowing, your pineal gland is not aware which hormone to secrete at what time. Actually, we have this circadian rhythm in our body, which tells that this hormone should be secreted at this time, or this enzyme should be secreted at that time. So there is a timer which is there in our body. So when we are not respecting the sleep-wake cycle, this timer is going off and on, right? So then this signaling is lost. So this feedback to the body is lost, and then there will be a lot of confusion within our endocrine system and hypothalamus and pituitary axis. So this coordination will be lost, and then body does not know what to do. Right? It is like there is a lot of flow happening, and then we are diverting it, and the water is like confused. There is no sewage going, and where should I go? Where should I flow? This kind of there is a check dam which is built with a lot of greasy, oily, and junk food, and then the water is there, and it is not knowing where to flow. This kind of situation which is happening. And also one important reason for endometriosis and PCOD I find is not using the contraceptive pills in a wise manner. Lot of women I consult say that I had breakouts and my gynecologist prescribed me hormone pills, contraceptive pills, so that I don't get breakouts anymore. This is like carpeting. You are grooming your room, aap jadu karte ho, and you are telling that all my gandagi should be under the carpet. I'm hiding all my gandagi under my carpet. So when somebody looks from up, oh my God, my carpet, my room is so clean. But when you lift your carpet and see, there is a lot of gandagi, lot of rubbish under the carpet. So, suppressing your pimples or acne by taking hormonal pills is an absolutely wrong habit, which can result in PCOS and endometriosis, fibroid uterus, because you are giving some hormones externally, and then body is confused. I am already producing hormones and you are giving me extra hormones, and what should I do with this, right? So this is what is happening, and I think this is such a wrong practice. Usually when I was consulting few years before ago, I was seeing Westerners doing this. They were taking contraceptive pills, and 8 years, 10 years, they are on pills, right? I was like, my God. And now I'm seeing our Indians also resorting to the same kind of lifestyle, long term, and they get hot flushes, they get premature hairing, graying of hair, and lot of heat, hot flushes and all. So this is such a sad practice.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. So my next, common problem that a lot of women face is skin and hair related issues. So what can they do for that?
See, skin and hair related issues are mostly because of taking a lot of spicy, pungent, acidic, over fermented things, and especially if you are already having a pitta prakriti or a fire, fire body type, and or you have a fire imbalance, you are giving lot of spicy food, lot of garlic, lot of cinnamon and all this healthy herbal teas, immunity teas, and then you start having breakouts and lot of acne, and then we suppress it with hormones, or then so this is the main cause. And also use of cosmetics which are not actually suiting to your body, that is also one of the main reasons. So let your skin breathe, and resort to natural ways of enhancing your beauty. Once in a while, if you have a party to attend, or if you have some function or some interviews like this, so you can have a little bit of lip balm, or you can patch up a little bit. But when you are at home or you are going to office, you don't have to do some heavy makeups. Let your skin breathe as much as possible, and resort to things which are less less spicy, less fermented, and less acidic in nature. So this will actually save your body. And also be well hydrated. This way, hydrating yourself is also very important. Not too much or not too less. So this is also one of the most important thing. And also an yearly detox. You have to go to an Ayurveda doctor or a naturopathy expert and do a natural detox once in a while, so that you are flushing out of your toxins on a regular basis. Because cosmetics, the food we eat, the water we drink, and there is a lot of pollution. So all this actually contribute a lot to our skin health. So it is very important that we have to have a clean habit. And I'm not saying that you should not be enjoying your Chinese food, or you should not be enjoying your pav bhaji, or once in a while it is okay. But if you can stick on to a healthy habit 80% of your life, and 20% you enjoy once in a while, you have a cheat day, or once in a week you have a cheat day, you eat whatever you want, then you are more or less maintaining yourself in a healthy way.
And talking about maintaining yourself, like obesity has suddenly risen even in our country. I mean, earlier we used to see only in like developed nations where it was very prevalent, but now people's lifestyles have gotten so bad that a lot of people are fat. So how can they sort of incorporate Ayurveda and maybe get themselves fit?
You see, sometimes what is happening is that when you keep on doing something wrong, then the body will stop giving signals, right? First, body will tell, okay, bahut ho gaya khana, or they'll be like, stop, it's too much of food. Then emotional eating is also one of the main culprit. I'm seeing this with a lot of youngsters nowadays. Emotionally, they are finding comfort in food. So emotionally, disposing the emotional garbage on a daily basis is very important. So every day you have to make sure that you are disposing your emotional garbage. Do some pranayama, do some meditation, or do some practices which can really help to let off the emotional garbage. And also, so this emotional eating will come down. And also make sure in a day, if you are having a heavy lunch, you are not having heavy dinner or breakfast. So you plan your meal in such a way that you are actually, when you overlook a day of your food habit, you have to see that one meal is heavy. Okay, I had enough of paneer, so I should not have a paneer sabji or kaju masala for my dinner also, right? Or you had a biryani for your lunch, so let me eat a khichdi or a rice soup noodles, or just a soup. So this middle path, if you can get into your system, then that will save from obesity. And also disposing emotional garbage on a daily basis by meditation or yoga practices, and working out is also very important.
I think we should all make it a motto that dispose your emotional garbage on an everyday basis. We can even come up with, I don't know, merch and t-shirts for that. That would be really, really cool. All right, we have a few questions. I'll just... So someone is asking, we see Harbeshwari. Hi, Purvi. Sneha is asking, please suggest something for chronic bloating and related hair fall.
See, chronic bloating means bloating is air, right? So air in your stomach, there is a lot of air in your stomach, right? So you have to, first you have to look at what are you eating, right? Maybe a lot of potatoes, chickpeas, etc. you are eating, and then you will end up having a lot of gassiness and bloating. Or second thing is you are eating too frequently, right? Your khichdi, you have put a khichdi to cook in the stove, and every time you are opening and adding some ingredients, like every 5 minutes or 2 minutes you are adding ingredients, and your khichdi is not exactly cooked, right? So we are not having good gap between our meals. That can be second reason. Third reason, you have low digestive fire. So the best thing is to do is first try having some spices like ajwain, cumin, some kind of fennel. So all this you can have a tea and drink, right? So this, if still it is not getting fixed, then you have to talk to an Ayurveda doctor. So make sure that you are not snacking too often. There is a proper time gap between the meals. The second thing is add some digestive spices to your meals, and stay away from gas forming like cauliflower family, cabbage family, chickpeas, all those things you have to stay away.
All right. Someone is asking how much hydration per day is good for women.
I think 2 to 2.5 liters is enough. But if you are staying in a place like Mumbai or Delhi where there is a lot of heat, then up to 3 you can go, right? And it depends on the temperature also. Not too much of hydration is not good, because when you're drinking too much of water, you're diluting your gastric juice. Imagine there is fire, you have some gastric juices, and then you are drinking too much water, you're diluting your digestive juices, and then by the time food goes there, then there is no, no concentrated digestive juice to act on your food. It's all diluted. So it's like a little bit of soap and lot of water and too much of clothes to wash in a washing machine. So same theory is happening in the system also. So too much hydration is also not good, not recommended.
We have the next question by Aman. He's asking, what are white spots on nails? Aman Kaur, sorry.
See, white spots, it's a controversy actually. Some people say that it is calcium deficiency and all, but I have not seen any valid reasoning behind it actually. If it is from your childhood you are getting it, don't take a don't bother about it. But if it is something recent, then you will have to check with your doctor, Ayurveda doctor, and see whether your metabolism is intact, your calcium intake is intact, and you don't have any deficiencies as such.
All right. The next question is, can we do yoga exercise during periods?
See, periods is a flow which happens down, and our energy is less during periods, right? So you can do definitely chantings, you can do pranayams, very light pranayams, and you can also do some meditation. Meditation is the best practice during during periods. Guided meditations, I do guided meditation during my periods. I don't do any any heavy stretches or anything which is very hard on my body. So relaxing, restorative kind of yoga in a very slow pace, and not the headstand and all. So that we should be careful.
All right. Chubbs29 is asking, please suggest something for acidity.
Acidity, if it is a chronic one, you have to definitely get in touch with an Ayurveda doctor. Otherwise, acidity means, okay, it is like you have a scratch on your hand, and then you are putting something which is irritating that. Every time you put chai or you put chili or masala, it irritates. Same thing, you should be careful. You have to eat light. You have to eat something very less spicy, and then you have to take some medicines, Ayurveda herbs, and then you have to heal it. So fennel is actually very good. Fennel and coriander are very cooling spices. If your acidity is very recent, then stay away from chai, coffee, and all sour and fermented food. And also, drink enough water. And this coriander fennel tea, this is very good for your acidity. Otherwise, if it is not going away, then you have to definitely talk with an Ayurveda doctor, and you will get medicines.
All right. I hope that answers your question. Someone is asking, hi ma'am, whenever I eat any kind of sweet, I will get mucus in my throat. Any solution for that?
Yeah. So see, this is a perfect example of how the functional kapha is out of balance. You already have mucus. That means earth and water element is stuck there, and it is whenever you give a little bit of cause or little bit of thing, it is getting imbalanced. So that means that you have to really take care of your throat region. Otherwise, it will become some kind of diseases of the upper respiratory tract. So this is a signal. Every time you are getting mucousy after eating curd or banana or milk, is a sign your body is giving that your mucus is getting imbalanced. So you have to take some some spices like ginger or pepper or tea or something to clear it. Best thing is to consult an Ayurveda doctor and do some get some medicines and do some nasya, etc. So this will really help. So you have to go to a doctor and consult.
Someone is asking, can you share tips on what to do in the evening or night time to rise by Brahma Muhurta? What benefits happens to the hormones when we rise by this time?
See, Brahma Muhurta is in Ayurveda, we say that 45 minutes before the sunrise is what is called as Brahma Muhurta. And when you wake up during that time, the mind is lot calmer, and the sattva qualities, the cosmos is very calmer, and there is a lot of positive vibration. So it's a very good time to meditate. There are a lot of good hormones getting secreted during that time, right? In the mind and in the body, and the stress hormones are less during that time. That is why it's a very good time to meditate and do some kind of introspection, right? So if you start getting up in that time, then it becomes a habit, and you will be able to feel more energetic. On a Sunday, if you wake up at 10 o'clock, you feel like I have to sleep a little more, right? But if you, on a working day, if you get up by 6:37, you feel more energetic, right? So it is not the long sleep, or if I sleep more, I get energy. That's a wrong notion, right? If it was the state, then by sleeping till 10 o'clock, if you sleep, you feel more lethargic, and then you have food on a Sunday, and again you sleep. You feel more tired on a Sunday by getting up late, right? So in Ayurveda, we say the kapha, when you wake, the more you wake late, the more kapha get imbalanced and you feel congested. That is why some people, when we sleep in the daytime, when they wake up, they feel a lot of congestion and mucousy, and so the girl who asked will definitely feel little mucousy and congested when they sleep in the daytime. So this is very important. So kapha get imbalanced when you sleep in the daytime. Except for the summer season, you can sleep a little bit, is what Ayurveda advocates. Otherwise, these problems can happen.
All right. Someone is asking which oil is suitable for all hair type or any shampoo. Which oil is suitable for all types of hair, or she's asking for any shampoo that is suitable for all types.
See, oiling again is a very very person centric. Some people, I've seen that they put buy this shampoo from advertisement, or they take this oil from advertisement, and every time they they'll end up having headache, mucousy, sinus problem, neck stiffness after having shampoos and this thing. So I know this popular brand. They have this cool Thanda Thanda Cool kind of oil and also shampoo by a popular multinational company. So they apparently feel it's cools. It has methanol, so it cools down. So every time this girl used to take this shampoo and wash her hair, she used to land up having a runny nose and a throat pain. So it had this herb which are cooling, and that was too cooling for her. She could not take it, and every time she used it, she landed having a problem with congestion and mucus. So we have to make sure that you don't have any sensitive upper respiratory tract issues or mucus or sinus infections, etc. And then only we have to see for the oil. If you have a lot of heat in your system, cooling herbs, oil with cooling herbs, Neelabringadi hair oil or Bringamalakadi hair oil is okay. But if you are someone having a lot of kapha or mucus accumulation in your upper respiratory tract, then it is better go and consult a doctor and then get a prescription for your hair oil or shampoo.
Okay. Someone is asking, I often skip my breakfast and lunch, but still my stomach is bloated. What should I do?
You have to go and consult a doctor because your metabolism or your digestion is very suppressed, and we have to rekindle the digestive fire. Then only skipping meals is not a permanent solution. So as soon as possible, get in touch with a doctor, consult, and get it fixed.
All right. Someone is asking, is sun gazing at early morning helpful for headache or sunbathing?
See, in Ayurveda, there is no one rule. That is why when you are asking me very straight question, I'm doing like beating around the bush, because if you have too much heat in the body, right? If you are a fire person, if you are going in sun, you feel sunbathing is very uncomfortable. You have hot flushes, you have sun spots and all these issues, right? So Ayurveda always see who is asking the question, what is the age of the person, what is the circumstance, is the climate, is it summer or winter? So this is all very important when I answer. So this is my responsibility not to give a wrong notion that everybody take 1 liter of water, or everybody take cumin and ginger tea, or everybody put multani milk on the skin. I cannot say that because it is all person specific. The question and answer is very person specific.
All right. So that's it for the questions. Guys, if you have any more questions, please follow Dr. Aparna. And Doctor, how can they reach you for personal consultations? Are you doing consultations at the moment?
So I do online consultations, and I have a website. They can book for a consultation by the website is ayurvedaexpert.in. So in my profile also it is there, so they can get in touch with me.
All right, guys, we will ensure that we save the link even on this IG this live session, and we will be saving it because I saw a lot of messages asking that will this session be saved. Absolutely, because there is so much information in here, like my mind is literally blown, and I also follow you on your own page, and every day I get to learn so much more whenever you're posting. And so thank you so much for being on this live session, and I'm sure everyone over here got a lot of information, and I hope that some of them even got like personal help from whatever questions they asked. All right.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Aparna, and thank you everybody for joining in, and hope you all stay safe and stay at home. All right. Bye.
Bye.